The first time I watched Frieren, I thought I understood it. The second time, I actually understood Frieren. That completely changed the weight of episode 1 for me. At first, it feels like the story's about a nearly all-powerful, emotionally detached, 1,000-year-old elf setting off on another adventure. But it isn't. It's about someone learning to appreciate time, the people around her, all the moments she never realised mattered until they were gone. The genius of episode 1 is that while you're watching the beginning of one journey, you're also watching the end of another. A journey Frieren didn't fully appreciate until it was already over. That's what inspired this drawing, because once you finish Frieren, episode 1 isn't just the beginning of a story anymore. It's a goodbye that you finally understand. But is it really a goodbye? I don't think it is. One of the central ideas in Frieren is that although people eventually die, the way they influence others can live on. Himmel never really disappears. He lives on through Frieren herself. Almost every major decision she makes is influenced by him. She helps strangers because that's what Himmel would have done. She takes payment, even when she doesn't need it, because Himmel understood that letting people contribute preserves their dignity. She takes detours, helps with seemingly pointless requests, and spends time with people because she's slowly beginning to understand why those moments matter to him. In a way, Himmel's journey never really ended, it just became Frieren's. I think Himmel notably changed Frieren's life twice. The first time was when he came back to find her. After Flamma died, Frieren spent almost 1,000 years living alone, isolated from humanity. Then one day she found a young lost Himmel in the woods, and in a typical cold fashion just points him to the nearest village. But before he left, she cast a field of flowers to essentially ease his fears. It seems like such a small, insignificant moment, but that moment inspired Himmel's love of magic, and eventually led him back to find her. And that's where everything changes. Without Himmel returning, Frieren never joins the hero's party. They never defeat the Demon King. She never experiences the journey that ultimately changes who she is. And there's another detail I absolutely love about this. The flower spell was Flamma's favourite. Flamma used it to connect with Frieren. It later became Himmel's favourite spell, without even realising it. Frieren used the very spell that once connected her to her own mentor to connect with the person who would go on to change her life. It's such a small detail, but I think it perfectly captures one of Frieren's biggest themes. The people we meet leave traces of themselves in us, and through us, they continue to shape the people we meet next. The second time Himmel changed Frieren's life was after he died. Only then did Frieren begin to appreciate the time she'd spent with him and the other people around her. In many ways, that single moment shaped almost every relationship she has after that point. But why did it take losing Himmel for Frieren to finally understand all of this? I think Frieren is cursed with the blessing of time. On the surface, living for thousands of years sounds like the greatest gift imaginable. But time only has meaning relative to how much of it you think you have. We've all done it. I'll do it tomorrow, I'll start on Monday. Days become weeks, weeks become months. Before you know it, the opportunity is passed. Now imagine your lifespan isn't 80 years, imagine it's thousands. A decade to Frieren must feel no more significant than next Monday feels to us. And I think the series quietly shows this everywhere. Take Zoltrok. Frieren spends about 80 years studying and refining it. To us, that's an unimaginably long time. But to Frieren, that's still a relatively new spell. Finn, on the other hand, has grown up in a world where Zoltrok has always existed. It's simply part of her generation. They're not experiencing the same magic from the same point in history. They're experiencing it from completely different lifetimes. Frieren isn't careless. She's living on a completely different timescale. Magic can wait. People can't. So, why does the story send Frieren on another journey? After all, the Demon King has already been defeated, the world has already been saved. On paper, the story is over. But I don't think that's what the second journey is really about. It's not about defeating another great evil. It's not even about reaching Oriol. It's about giving Frieren a second chance to experience the world with a perspective she didn't have the first time. The first journey changed the world around her. The second journey changes Frieren herself. She's not retracing the hero party's footsteps. She's recontextualizing them. Every village she visits, every stranger she helps, every seemingly pointless detail, every obscure spell she collects. They're no longer just things to pass time. They're opportunities to experience the kind of moments Himmel always appreciated, but she never truly understood. The first journey gave Frieren memories. The second journey gave these memories meaning. So, once I figured out what I wanted this piece to say, I had to work out to actually draw it. The scene was an easy decision. I always knew I wanted to draw Frieren crying. As far as I can remember, it's the only time in the series we ever see her show this level of raw emotion. But if I simply recreated that frame from the anime, anyone who hadn't seen Frieren would simply just see an elf crying. It needed some context. So instead, I imagined Frieren visiting Himmel's grave years later. The grave's a little older, is surrounded by flowers. After all, he's the hero, right? People are naturally gonna come and pay their respects. But right at the foot of the grave, I decided to place blue moonweed, which is Himmel's favourite flower. Everyone would bring him flowers, but Frieren is the only one that can bring him his flowers. She's the only one that remembers, and more importantly, she finally understands why remembering matters. Himmel isn't really standing there. He's a memory. I wanted him to feel peaceful, almost like the version of him that now exists in Frieren's mind. He's no longer physically beside her, but he's still with her in almost everything she does. He's also the light source of this entire piece. Well, I tried to make him the light source of this entire piece. Not because I wanted him to look angelic, but because even after death, he's still guiding Frieren, just like he does throughout the entire series. Looking back at it now, I genuinely couldn't have made this piece any better, and that's not because I think it's perfect, it's far from that. But this is the limit of what I'm capable of right now. In a year's time, I hope to look back on this and see all the things that I'd improve. But today, this is the best illustration I know how to make. This was definitely the most ambitious piece I've attempted so far. It pushed me way outside of my comfort zone, but I'm genuinely proud of how it turned out. If you're new here, I'm Dan. I have far too many hobbies, and this channel is basically where they all collide. Art, anime, movement, acrobatics. If I find something interesting, chances are it'll end up here. From now on, I'm planning to post one digital art video every week alongside a long form movement series. So if either of those sound like your kind of thing, I'd love to have you along for this journey. And if there's a scene, character, or anime you'd like me to draw next, leave it in the comments. There's a good chance it'll become my next project, so who knows. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what you thought. It genuinely helps more than you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.